So here's this elderly Palestinian woman who went viral not very long ago for saying that she is older than Israel. So I think it's safe to assume this lady is a refugee or was a refugee from the original Nakba in the 1948 and got to experience the second Nakba now. And now she's been killed by an Israeli soldier. Pretty much murder in cold blood, I would assume. Here you have Professor Rafat Al Arir. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. That's the least I can do for this gentleman. Also killed by the IDF, and they say it was targeted. He was he. Long story short, he sensed it was coming. They were coming for him, so he avoid going to his normal home where it's very crowded with people, and he didn't want it to be, to have a bomb dropped on that building where he was staying and kill God knows how many other civilians. So he decided to go hide with his sister in this other building, and on the second floor. And apparently the IDF did a surgical strike on him and didn't destroy the building, but like I said, it was surgical. They aimed at the apartment or whatever space he was staying at and killed him and many more of his family members. And as you can see here, he blames Barry Weiss and her likes, he says. And he shared there like a screenshot of all these pro-Israel people saying just disgusting things to him and threatening his life and his family. And he pretty much got on Barry Weiss's crosshairs for mocking the claims by Israel about the now debunked story about 40 beheaded babies. They were saying that Hamas beheaded 40 babies when they did their committed their atrocities in Israel, which turned out to be false, or at least so far hasn't been proven. There was another claim where supposedly they cut out the baby from one Israeli woman and threw the baby in the oven, and I think both stories have been debunked, at least not yet proven, and I don't think they will prove them, because who is really surprised that the Israel government is lying? And they probably are lying about this story, but anyways, so he was mocking the story, and Barry Weiss did not appreciate it, and apparently a whole bunch of her followers started threatening this man, followers that happened to be members of the IDF, and now he is dead. And this one is perhaps the most disturbing story. I'm sure many of you have heard this story already, where the IDF went into this hospital in Gaza and forcefully evacuated everyone out of there. The mothers, the patients, the medical staff, and there was this infants in it. Premature babies in ICUs. And not so long ago, there was, when I think during the ceasefire, some journalists were able to go in and do some reporting. And I think it was Al Jazeera that went into that hospital where people were forced out. And premature babies were left behind, left to starve, and they died in their beds. And when the reporter went in there and recorded the bodies, or the reporter that found the bodies of the babies, the premature babies, They were the bodies were already in bad shape. They were decaying, and they had bugs or maggots, whatever, already crawling on the babies. Some of the babies' bodies were mutilated because apparently some stray dogs were taking bites out of these babies. I'll spare you. I'll spare you any further graphic details about it, but it's breaking the. Apparently CNN did some real reporting, but even though they're burying the lead, according to Adam Johnson here, where the IDF pretty much shelled the hospital, threatened medical staff inside, demanding they evacuate, then called the hospital and promised, they promised they would send an ambulance for the babies in the ICU beds. So the doctors and nurses left, and the IDF just never sent the ambulance. So you can conclude that they did this intentionally, and they didn't care. They just left the babies there to die. But we're supposed to believe that the Israel military is not targeting civilians, that they're only targeting Hamas militants. We're supposed to ignore Israel's genocidal comments from Netanyahu and from him on down, his cabinet, saying there's no innocent people in Gaza, calling for a second Nakba. Netanyahu's comments about Amalek or something from his religious book, the Torah, saying that pretty much justifying the killing of women, children, and even the animals in Gaza. And we're supposed to accept that only Hamas can be called terrorists, not the IDF. Because what the IDF is doing to the civilians that I just mentioned and the thousands of other civilians is not terrorism. We're supposed to erase from our memory how they treated all those men, accusing them of being Hamas fighters, making them get undressed all the way down to their underwear, making them sit in the sun. We're supposed to think that is acceptable behavior by these so-called IDF soldiers, the so-called heroes of Israel. In the meantime, what is Joe Biden doing in his cabinet? Well, they certainly are giving some nice lip service to Palestinians, through the media, saying how concerned they are about their safety and how many crumbs they're giving them in aid and how stern they're being with Israel. Just being so vocal in telling them to be more careful, to be more strategic and more surgical, and to minimize civilian casualties. Meanwhile, Israel is doing none of the above, and they keep giving them weapons. What was his State Department up to? Oh, that's right, they were bypassing Congress and approving the sale of tank ammunitions to Israel, ammunitions that Israel will probably be using to continue their genocide. And what is Congress up to? Oh yeah, that's right, they're holding hearings trying to get presidents of universities fired for not silencing students who are pro-Palestine. Pretty much making up excuses to limit people's First Amendment right. We're supposed to accept all that. We're supposed to not believe our lying eyes and not believe what our lying ears are hearing, and we're supposed to just accept that this is normal, that Israel is only defending itself, and that everybody in Gaza are terrorists Fuck all that. We cannot stop. We will not stop. We need to defy our government and on this one because they are wrong. They are morally on the wrong side of history, and they know it. It is incredible how defiant they are of their own citizens. Not only here in the U.S. but in the Western Hemisphere, Western governments, the UK, Germany, etc., etc. Fuck all them. We are all Palestinians, just regular people. You out there on your social media accounts and hitting the streets, you're the only hope they have. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck our Congress, both Democrats and Republicans that are supporting the genocide. We need to replace those fuckers one way or the other. We must remember in November.